Welcome to We Need to Talk about tech, where we talk about the past,
present, and future
of technology.
On this week's podcast, we're talking about the global release of the Xiaomi Mi 11, the Epic Games MetaHuman creator,
and we are talking about digital lands selling for 1.5 million in Axie Infinity.
Jeez.
All right. Our final topic of the day revolves around the game Axie Infinity. Recently, digital land in this game sold for $1.5 million.
This is insane.
Now, I heard this story, I saw it, I brought it to your attention. I don't think I fully went into what happened. I just kind of mentioned, hey, have you heard of the game Axie Infinity?
Yeah.
Have you heard of Axie Land? You're like, no, I don't think I have. You did some research. So it's a cutesy Pokemon inspired game, right? It's based on blockchain, and it's seen a huge jump in popularity over the past year. What happened recently, what's kind of catching the news, is there were 9 rare plots of digital land that were sold. The buyer was someone who goes by the name Flying Falcon. That's the only name we have for them. And they said they bought the land because it fit their wider thesis on how to maximize profits playing the game. Now, the land that sold, like I said, 9 rare plots of digital land that sold for $1.5 million, making it the biggest sale of non-fungible tokens ever. Now, you may be asking, I guess, what is a non-fungible token? It's a little bit to explain, but on a crypto asset that is indivisible, it's unique, and thusly creates digital scarcity. Now, non-fungible kind of means that it is unique and it can't be divided and it can't be replaced. It has certain identifying numbers that make it this way. Now, let's say you have a fungible token. A fungible token would be something like a $100 bill, right? It has a value. You can divide it. You could have 2 $50 bills. You could have 5 $20 bills. And also, it's not unique. If, let's say, I take a $100 bill from you and I give you a separate $100 bill, it's no different to you, right? It's 100 for 100. They have the same value. They may not be the exact same bill, but at the end of the day, they have the same value. A non-fungible token can't be divided, like I said, so you can't have, I don't know, half of whatever the token is, and you can't replace it. Let's say a concert ticket is an example of a non-fungible token, right? I can't take a concert ticket and then cut it in half down the middle and give, okay, you have a half a concert ticket and you have a half a concert ticket. It has no value, right? You can't take this half with another random half, put them together, and be like, okay, here's a new concert ticket. It doesn't work like that. You need the whole thing in order to have value. Just like you can't show up to the concert with half a ticket, be like, okay, here's my ticket. I have proof that I have this. Or they're going to say, well, where's the other half of it? I can't do anything with this half, right? You need the whole thing, hence it being non-fungible. So back to the Axie Infinity story. 9 plots of land, once again, in the Axie Infinity game, sold for 888 ETH, which is about the equivalent of 1.5 million USD. These 9 plots of land were called Genesis Estate. It's a sort of virtual land that's special. It's supply capped. It's a plot of land that has, a unique design and special positioning within the Axie land system. Now, in this Axie land, it's based off of Pokemon, right? You can train your Axies, you can raise them, you can battle them, you can even breed them with other Axies to get brand new Axies. And these Axies are also non-fungible, so they are in themselves non-fungible tokens, and depending on, I guess, their attributes, how rare they are, how, I guess, strong they are, they also have a value. Back in September of 2020, a cryptocurrency research and consultant firm bought 5 Axies for $160,000.
Oh my goodness.
Now, back to the land, if you own a certain amount of digital land, you could rent this property out to someone else.
Man.
You could earn money from renting your land out, and you can build on this land, you can develop the land, and thus increase the value of your digital land. There's a feature coming to Axie Infinity where there will be concerts being held on this digital land, which in turn will increase the value of the land that you have. So I guess now that you've heard, I guess, the backstory of Axie Infinity and the digital land sales and the digital Axie creatures, what are your thoughts?
So my initial thoughts is this is insane. Like, the amount of money that this stuff is going for. Like, I've even seen here that the most expensive Axie was like 300 ETH, which is a lot of money. Like, that's for one. And now you're telling me that a company went and bought a bunch for 150 grand. Like, it's
160 grand.
$160,000. Like, it's just nuts to think that, one, this is a thing, but two, it's designed to be like this. Like you mentioned, it's like their take on Pokemon, but they essentially wanted it to be, the developers of this game, I imagine, I don't know if this is how it originally started, but this is how it is now. It is designed to be a place where you can breed and create all these rare Axies and sell them for real money. And they have, I'm seeing here on the stats, nearly 20,000 people playing this game, which honestly is a lot, but it seems like to get to the prices that they're getting at, you would need way more people than that. And it reminds me of back in the day. I used to play some MMOs, so massively multiplayer online games, similar to this, where all those games had an internal currency, and that internal currency had a value. Like, there were players who were very rich and players who were very poor. I remember there was a time in those games where I did not have a lot of gold, and then I participated in a particular event where I got a rare candy cane, and I sold that rare candy cane for a lot of gold, and I was rich for the rest of my time playing that game. But it's things like that. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, but it's not real money. Like, there was never any stakes tied to that.
Yeah.
If I didn't have that. But this is real. And imagining a guy saying, hey, I did the stats. I'm going to buy this digital land where I'm going to be able to breed and hold concerts and do all this stuff where I can make money. And a game with less than 20,000 players, to me, is pretty nuts to hear. And it just makes me wonder what the future for games are. Because I remember not too long ago, Diablo 3 tried to implement a real money market where players could sell items for real money. And that failed miserably, and they've gotten rid of it. And now with things like cryptocurrency and blockchain, and having like a currency that is really difficult or almost impossible to kind of manipulate, because it's going to work similar to a way a Bitcoin would or an Ethereum would. Like, it's just going to work in a traditional sense that can kind of change the entire dynamics of how value is processed in a video game. Make that very clear. This is digital. This is nothing that you're getting from this is actually physical, which just makes sense because you're using a digital currency in a digital game, and people are actually potentially going to get real wealth from it. And it's happened with things like World of Warcraft in the past, people selling accounts. But this is such a purposely integrated system that it kind of shocks me. And when you mentioned it to me, I did some research and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay, this seems like a cute game. But just to hear the stats, to me, it seems unbelievable.
It's pretty unbelievable. And a quote from the creator of the game, he was saying purchases like this are only going to continue in the months ahead. Right now what we're seeing is a groundwork for complex societies to emerge, complete with their own economies and systems of government. Like you said, there's only 20,000 people playing right now. In a year from now, we could see 40,000.
Yeah.
In 2 years, we could see 80,000. Right? And the kind of money that people are putting into this, it seems like that's kind of where they're expecting it to grow. I mean, I took a look at the game. Not the most interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But I see the potential for it, right? If we talk about the first Pokemon games that came out in 1996, right? And we're in 2021 right now. If back then you were to say, this is going to be the biggest franchise in the world, everyone is going to be talking about Pokemon, everyone's going to know who Pikachu is, every kid to adult is going to be on their cell phones. You don't know what a cell phone is back then, but everyone's going to be on their cell phones playing Pokemon and getting together in groups, playing and trading and battling Pokemon. This is going to be the biggest franchise in the world back in 1996 with this little Game Boy game. We're like, what are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. These are stupid little creatures.
In black and white.
Right? In black and white, right? Like, I don't know if Axie Infinity is going to become the next Pokemon, but we didn't know Pokemon was going to become the Pokemon.
Yeah.
Right? There is room for this to grow. And we could look, 20 years from now and think, man, remember when that guy bought land for $1.5 million in Axie Infinity? Now he's the richest man on earth because he bought the land back then. Like, who knows where this could go? But it seems like people are behind this. It seems like people want this to go in the future. And one thing that, I've, I guess, kind of learned from 2020 is things are becoming more and more digital. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of businesses where if you did not have a digital presence, you didn't make it through 2020. Unfortunately, that's kind of how things went. And even a lot of people who work in finance, for instance, they had to go to the office 9 to 5 every day, 5 days a week. And for 2020, they're working from home. And now in 2021, it's, hey, we're not expecting you to come back into the office anytime soon. Yeah. Right? All your work can be done digitally. We don't need to see you in person. It seems like more and more of life is becoming digital. Am I saying that we're all going to be working in Axie land at one day? No, I'm not saying that. But it's so interesting to see that people are putting so much money into this digital land, and people are buying digital assets, and so much more of the world is moving to the digital space. 100%.
And it's funny that you say that, because I know you are a big fan of Ready Player One. And the question I have for you then is this the first step to a very real future where people are making their income from digital, maybe games, worlds, I don't know, but a digital marketplace where you are buying and selling digital assets? Kind of like, look, we've talked about the GameStop stock issue in the past, and it's essentially a lot of people trading digital assets. Like, yes, there's these shares that they're buying and selling, but at the end of the day, and these options, but at the end of the day, nothing physical is changing hands with these apps. And for a lot of people, it was like a game to see, hey, how much money can we make? How badly can we, affect Wall Street with these trades and these bets that we're making? Is there a very real future where that is just the norm, where you are on a virtual racetrack or a virtual pet game where you buy land or you buy cars and you sell them and you get real money or cryptocurrency, which you translate to real money, and you buy food with when you need dinner, and then you go home and then you go and buy, a digital car, and then is this the first step to that future?
I mean, I guess, yeah. I wouldn't even call it the first step. It's somewhere down the line of steps, but the GameStop situation, the GameStop craze,
yeah.
right? It made evident that you don't need physical value to create financial value.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you don't need to be selling games, right? You don't need to have a brick and mortar store that's selling games and is selling products and selling action figures, and then this causes their stock price to go up, and then they sell more games and more stuff, and then their stock prices go up, right? It was just people decided that this stock was going up. It went up, and a lot of people made money off of it.
Yeah.
A lot of people made a lot of money off of it. A lot of people also lost a lot of money off of it. But there was no physical exchange going on. The same thing could be said about Tesla, right? We've mentioned this before in the past. Tesla stock is going up ridiculously.
Yeah.
But it's not like they're announcing, hey, we've shipped more cars than anyone in the world. We've sold more cars than anyone in the world. That's not going on. This stock is going up because people believe in the company of Tesla and the man of Elon Musk. That's why their value is going up so high.
Yeah.
Right? So if people believe that the value of this Axie land is $1.5 million for 9 plots, that's what it is. And it could go up higher.
Yeah.
Right? If, Pokemon doesn't work the same way, but back in 1996, if you asked me, hey, how valuable do you think Pallet Town is? And I'm like, oh, I'd put all the money I have in Pallet Town,
Mm-hmm.
and it were to grow to whatever it would be worth now, like, I'd be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of, you ask, is this the first step? I think it's not the first step, but a big step into digital wealth, I guess, becoming the same as regular financial wealth.
Yeah.
Right? You could have made a ton of money trading options on GameStop. You could have taken that money, bought some expensive Axies. You could have bred those Axies. They would have been worth even more, and sold those or exchanged that for Bitcoin, cashed that in, and you could have bought real land.
Yeah. Right?
But then who's to say what's the difference between real land and digital land if you can spend $1.5 million on both?
Yeah.
Right? I guess kind of the thing you run into, the trouble you run into with digital things is because there's no intrinsic value to them, their value is tied to what people think they are, right? What people decide to give them value to. Flying Falcon just bought this land for $1.5 million. Let's say next year, no one's playing Axie Infinity.
Yeah.
They're playing Axie Omega. And now all that money you put into Axie Infinity isn't worth anything. That's just, that's just how the dice roll. I guess at least if you have physical land, let's say that you pay 1.5 million for,
mm-hmm.
you could have, let's say, a house that you build on that. You could have, that's the thing too, is because the housing market crashes too.
Yeah.
Right? You could buy a house for $1.5 million, and then for whatever reason, let's say there's a big company that leaves your town, or there's a big car manufacturing plant that shuts down, and now it's not worth 1.5 million anymore, it's worth 0.5 million.
Yeah.
So it's kind of what do you think is going to last, I guess.
And the part of it that kind of makes it difficult for me to wrap my head around, and it might just be a generational thing, is this idea that he bought this land, or this person bought this land, and it's a game that has digital land, that has just under 20,000 players right now. What happens if next year they don't decrease but double, and now there's 40,000 or there's 60,000 players? Do they increase the amount of land that's available? And if they do, does that decrease his land because it's not as special or as rare? Because now there's all these new plots of land that, because it's digital and can be introduced in a snap of a finger, is now just there. Which is...
Nah, man. You got Genesis plots. Those are going to be expensive forever.
That's the thing. And then what if, we've all played Destiny. We've all gotten the best light gear, and then an expansion comes out, and then that
got
gear
the Gallahorn.
got the Gallahorn. And then they decide not to update the best weapon in the game, and all of a sudden it's worthless now. But right before they made that update, it was the best, most desirable gun in the entire game. Like, that's the one thing about digital assets and like this Ready Player One future that I don't know if it's possible. I'm sure it is, but I just can't wrap my head around it because of maybe a generational thing of like, you know, in the movie and in the book, specifically in the movie, you know, there's these characters that have these, oh, you got this amazing rare skin or whatnot. But in reality, that skin is really worthless. Like, that is something that the person who created it, if they could, unless it was, you know, redesigned in a different way, could snap their fingers and duplicate it by 100 million. And, you know, that's just kind of the interesting thing. Now, you did mention in the story that they are using blockchain technology. So that could be
non-fungible tokens.
Yes, and they could potentially use that for everything. They could use that for land. They could use that for Axies. They could use that so that everything in that game and in future games are a finite asset. Like, there's a finite amount of that thing that could be available, and there's no way around it because it's designed around blockchain. So essentially, when that runs out, they can't just snap their fingers and add another one because it's done. So if you spent 1.5 million and now there's no more land to buy, your land hopefully will not decrease because there's no other options for anybody else to buy. So yeah, it's just one of those interesting things where it's like, you're right, this isn't the first step, this is just another major step, but the future is still kind of interesting to see of where this will go. If people end up adopting this digital lifestyle to become a major part of their economy and their wealth in general.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe I'll go and buy a couple Axies and buy a couple plots of land, and 20 years from now, I'll be a millionaire because of it.
Yeah, you can go retire on that land.
I guess any closing statements?
No, just you know, this is a fun topic. I was really caught off guard by the whole Axie thing. But yeah, it's just a cool story to hear.
Yeah. All right. Take it easy, everyone in podcast land.
Catch you in the next episode.
Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you like weekly tech updates, you can check us out on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us under We Need to Talk About Tech. I'll post updates on when we release episodes on my Twitter. Also, please like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton. We're almost at 40 subscribers. Until next time, take it easy. Peace.